Hello and welcome. I'm Leigh-Ann Gerrans and you're watching Al Arabiya English's W News and our continuing special coverage on the developing situation in the Middle East between the US, Israel and Iran after the US and Israel launched strikes on Iran yesterday morning. I'm here with Wissam, Keyrouz and Dr. Elie, friends of the show and regulars with me on W News. Wissam, we're just going to start with some statistics that we're now getting through, some clarity and striking stats from Gulf governments on what Iran fired at them yesterday. And it's important to say that most of these were intercepted, but the UAE 137 missiles and 209 drones, Qatar 66 missiles, Bahrain 45 missiles and 9 drones. So we can see those statistics together. Clear the UAE got the brunt of it.
Well, first let me say that the statistics and the numbers show that we have as many attacks from Iran on GCC nations than onto Israel itself, which does not really make sense in any way. I mean, when you see places in Dubai, for example, which has been the lung for many Iranians inside and outside the country for the last decades, there's no justification possible of why they would do this unless there is no chain of command, unless when the head figure Khamenei was killed, something really bad happened. And at the same time, they did say from the beginning, so we are not really surprised that they will target these countries, but we are surprised of the nature and the intensity of the strikes. Now, having said this, we have to say that the failure rate for these attacks are very high. And we have to know that people and the defenses of the GCC countries are very active, not only using the ground-to-air, normal missile defenses, but also using their air force, their fighter jets to go chase the drones, which may be the most, hard to intercept. It has been a very spectacular day, and there is a spectacle happening, and in a way the city, I mean, we are in Dubai, we have seen behind us, we have seen some of the attacks or the debris fell just behind us. It's more about the notoriety of these cities than about the damage made by the attacks itself. So this is why the story is so big. It reflects more the fact that these cities are, world scale attention grabbers than the fact that the attacks are really doing real damage to the cities. I believe these cities are very resilient, not only Dubai but also the other cities, and eventually Iran has shot itself in the foot, if not in the head, by losing strategic, I wouldn't say allies, I mean they are rivals of course, but neighbors. I mean, this will not be fixed anytime soon, I think.
I think it also says a lot about the nature of the regimes or the nature of the countries themselves. We have countries that have been constantly promoting economic growth, development, stability, openness, and we have a regime that's been saying, okay, I want to be part of this, yet has failed yet time and time again to actually deliver on being a positive player in this region. We have countries that care if one citizen or one resident is hurt, and we have countries that don't care about thousands and thousands of its own population being killed. So that says a lot about the nature of the Iranian regime, unfortunately, and the price that the Iranian people are paying for 40 years and are still paying. Hopefully the price will not be too much in this episode of the book.
But at the same time, to balance the narrative a little bit, I think for the Iranian regime and the government now, it cannot be about,
who loses more, or
it's definitely a survival mode. I mean, they know that what's on stake is their own survival, and not everything they will do is rational or should be rational, unfortunately. And actually, it's not rational. I mean, what they have been doing for the last 24 hours with regards to the GCC countries is absolutely not rational.
And as we sit here, I don't know if we can hear fighter jets behind us, but it has been a really busy night here in Dubai, and you were in Dubai last night and you experienced what we experienced all ourselves living here. Are we at war, Wissam?
Well, this is a question that is very legitimate. I think technically, it's a conflict, not only a small conflict, it's an international conflict. You have at least 10 countries involved right now, with the last to be added Cyprus itself, which is, by the way, the European Union. I mean, and the basis targeted is the UK. It is expanding in a way that is very, it could go further, unfortunately. Yes, it is a war. It's not technically a war for Donald Trump because he needs to declare a war to have the Congress with him, right, Elie?
True. Yeah. So practically for a declaration of war in the United States, it needs Congress approval. Yet the president has the flexibility to do some military operations within 60 days, not more. And everything that Trump has done, be it in Venezuela, in Iran, and so on, has been very short, tactical, let's say, interventions in a way. So whether this war is going to stay for long or not, he will definitely need to go back to the Congress and see if it is going to be officially a declaration of war or not. Furthermore, if we go to the purely technical sense of the term, in international law and so on, you need a certain number of casualties to declare it as an international conflict and so on. And we don't know what is the situation in Iran. We don't know how many casualties have there been so far. But definitely in all dimensions, it is an international conflict involving many countries and taking the region to a completely different situation.
And you know, there's a sense that what is happening right now might be the thing that will define the next few decades in the region. So if this regime is no more, a lot of things will change, and it could change and go either way. It could go positively, it could go negatively. And you know, there is a lot of people who have been recalling the very famous quote that, you know, sometimes you spend decades, nothing happened, and then you spend days, decades happen. And actually we are in those kind of days where things are happening. You know, to be back to Trump, I think his modus operandi is very clear. He wants a spectacular strike. He wants to make a gain very quickly, which happened, by the way, when he kills, I mean, when they killed Khamenei from the very first moment. It's a game changer from the very first moment. No boots on the ground and no long wars, especially that, you know, he has, you know, elections coming and so this is what we know about Trump. What we know about the Israelis, though, is different. For them, in order to continue and to achieve the wave that has been happening in the region since October 7th, it has to end in Tehran. And a regime change. So for the Israelis, things are much clearer. As for Trump, no, it's more about, you know, showing the might. It's more about telling that, you know, we have succeeded, that America is bringing change to the world. And at the same time, you know, you have one big regime, okay, one very influential and rich government that has been chanting death to America for the last 47 years. I mean, at some
point... That's why in his speech he went back to the whole trajectory of how this conflict has developed and how aggressive that regime was.
The Marines, Barak,
in Beirut,
in 1983, it's the biggest ever, you know. The biggest attacks on American military and American might has only been done by, I mean, not only done, it was from Iranians.
Sure.
Much more than from the terrorist organizations. It was from a regime, a country that is rich with oil, and very influential. And this is all systematic. It's a country that is systematically built and ideologically built on being against America, which is not the case of Iranian people, by the way. Iranian people are some of the most pro-Western in the region, much more than other people in the region. I mean, the whole nature of Iranian society is they are pro-Western, they love Western culture, and, you know, and they are not intrinsically against America. And this is not what the regime is all about.
So we talk right now about the US and the government in Iran, and obviously Donald Trump has gone into Iran, and we're speculating that for a very long time. But what about the day after? You talked about stability in the region. Dr. Elie, a lot of people are asking questions. Has Donald Trump and has the US government put anything in place for what happens? So we know the supreme leader has now gone from Iran, but what is there to help support the country with stability at this very moment? Or could we possibly see a civil war? Because we know there's lots of different factions inside of Iran.
Definitely. First of all, Trump surprised everybody by saying we have a very clear idea about who's going to rule Iran. I'm not sure if this is just another Trump statement or do they have actually something in planning. I think they don't have anything, but still, I mean, it's very difficult to predict or to assume that one specific person or group is able to control. We're speaking about a country of 80 million people. We're speaking about at least 10 different ethnicities. Not all of them are ideologically connected to the regime. We have the Baluch, we have the Kurds, we have the Azeris, we have the Persians, we have the Arabs. All of these have different interests, different approaches to things. And we have the division within the regime itself, as we spoke about more moderate people, more radical people. We have people like the son of Khamenei, the founder. We have people like Rouhani who are presenting themselves as potential, reformists. The grandson of Khomeini. And again, if this regime is able to transform itself, it could potentially present itself as, offering stability instead of democracy and change. And I think the world will choose stability. Even the region will choose stability. But if they are not able to present this reform version of the Iran regime, I think unfortunately we're going to chaos.
I think there has always been a scholarly
interest and discussion.
And there has always been also an idea that has always been prevailing is that this change can only happen from within the regime. So this is why what we saw in 2009 with the Green Revolution, and then it was all dynamics happening within the regime. Even some of our closest, advisors on Iran, this is what they used to tell us all the time.
And Donald Trump said that, didn't he, in his speech? It's your chance to take back your country.
Yeah, but how? I mean, it's either you have a popular uprising that will happen, and that will be met with some kind of force, like the son of the Shah of Iran, which, by the way, is not, in my opinion, so much eliminated from the ideas anymore. I think so, because you need some kind of legitimate choice for people when in time of transition. So you have something big happen, you have the regime collapse, and then you have something completely different coming. I don't think this is probable, because the Shah has no pan-Iranian reference. He is very Persian, and and on the other side, Khamenei and the Islamic regime, ironically, they have this kind of being able to, to represent everybody. Yes, because even Khamenei himself is not Persian. He has an Islamic reference, which makes it much more easy to resemble people. On the other hand, the Shah is very Persian. It's about Darius.
And he's also not lived in Iran for many years.
But he represents some kind of Persian nostalgia. Some kind of nostalgia of the times when Iran was great and respected in the world. Second possibility, and I don't rule it out at all, is you get rid of the religious apparatus, the mullahs, and then you are in a regime of revolution guards. I mean, it's the hardline junta of big generals who run the country.
And this is what potentially Ali Larijani presents somehow.
Yes.
Him being from the background of the Revolutionary Guard, but very close advisor, also have some kind of a religious respect.
And at the same time, within this choice of having a military regime, you can go either very hardline, very isolated, like Kim Jong-un, like in North Korean style, which makes it even more dangerous for the world, or something more under control, like Pakistan model, for example. But in all cases, Iran is a very big country. The worst case scenario is horrible, but the best case scenario is amazing. It's a country that has a lot of potential, that has the potential to reclaim a certain narrative of advancements for the Iranian people, but it's gonna be hard in a few days. So we have very clear results. Khamenei is dead, but do Donald Trump have a plan, a very clear plan about what's coming? Unfortunately, I don't think so.
And I feel like right now, a lot of people aren't speaking enough about what people in Tehran are going through. We know that, of course, the US is hitting Tehran. Israel is also hitting Tehran. I have friends who are from Iran. Some family members live in Tehran. They can't communicate with them. And right now we talk about Iran wanting change, and of course in January we saw those huge large-scale anti-government protests that were really quietened by the Iranian government. I think right now, do we have any sort of insight into what those people in Iran must be feeling?
It has been the problem for the last few months. We have really no visibility inside the Iranian society. But we know that the latest hits by Americans and by Israelis are targeting the security apparatus, the people there that had the mandate to not let people protest, okay? So if by any chance we can, America and Israel can neutralize the police, and then we see some kind of real street dynamic, it's gonna be the real game changer.
I do believe that, again, unfortunately, the people will pay the biggest price, especially if Iran descends into chaos. But again, it's the choice of the leadership that could make it or break it, unless, of course, we're speaking about people who will not be able to control the military, as Wissam was mentioning, not actually the military, the Revolutionary Guard. That is a completely separate entity, and it is stronger than the Iranian military per se. If they move in that sense, then it would be, unfortunately, a very big confrontation with the Iranian people, and the Iranian people one more time paying the price.
But there's also the possibility of an arranged a joker. Someone we don't know, someone inside, and it goes very well with the mind of
Rodriguez of Iran.
This goes very well with the modus operandi of Trump. You get rid of the head of the regime, and then you put in place someone who's just next in line, but who is your guy.
Able to control the ground, yet able to do the deal that...
It works in Venezuela, but it's much harder in Iran because it's an ideological, religious... but it could happen. He has no problem with the ideology, Donald Trump, as long as it does
the
not...
deal is done.
Yeah, the deal is done. So if whatever deal was proposed, suggested by the Iranians with the Omanis, bring in the American companies, get the oil, get the billions. It's still interesting for Trump, and he could do it. But maybe with another person. Who is that person? He says he knows who the person. Elie thinks he doesn't know. It's just a bluff. But I think that not one in mind. Maybe a few people are in mind. Those who haven't been killed are, the candidates.
And I guess what the big question is, what does the US do next? Are we going to keep on seeing these wave of attacks on Iran, not just on Tehran, on nuclear sites? And I think a lot of people are also like, does Iran have any allies? Will anyone come to Iran's safety at the moment to help them out at all?
Like who? Like China? Like Russia?
Possibly.
I definitely don't think China or Russia are going to get involved in this. Both of them have their own issues and different perspectives on things. On the side of the US, we might actually see more countries engaged if the war continues. Countries like have been directly affected, be it the Gulf countries or allies from NATO, the UK, etc., with the recent hits on the UK bases in Cyprus. UK is will get more involved in all of this.
They are already involved.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, limited involvement, but they are. Yeah.
But the potential of this growing into a massive international war with two camps, I don't think it's the case. I think it's Iran. But again, for the US, the question is, to count this military intervention as successful, you need valuable, tangible results. Otherwise, they cannot stop. It will be,
What's a win for Donald Trump, I guess? That's
Exactly.
the big question. What does victory look like?
But for Donald Trump, the world is not anymore about East and West.
Yeah.
It's not about NATO and Soviets. It's a completely different bilateral world. And Russia, for example, they already lost two of the major regimes that they were in their sphere. The Syrian regime was, their biggest, paravent in the world. Also Venezuela, it was their biggest, oil pump in the world. And what did they do? Nothing. As for China, the interest of China and Iran is different. It's about oil. Iran is the major oil exporter to China. And I believe the Americans or whoever will have enough, things to give to the Chinese to calm them down. I don't think, in my opinion, anyone would risk, having this kind of involvement in an international conflict for Iran if they get the right.
Just put it as an image in our head. If the U.S. controls the Venezuelan oil, Syria, maybe the Iranian oil, they will have control over oil production and oil prices for the coming decade or two. And this is a huge part of where Trump sees the U.S. going and how he intends to fight, be it Russia or Chinese opposition.
And also, does Donald Trump needs the oil? He does not need the oil.
He needs to control the prices.
He needs to control the price. He needs that oil not to be in the hands of China.
Exactly.
As simple as that, to keep the leverage of China. And he's getting this. So, you hear a lot of bad press about Donald Trump, a lot. But at the end, as unlikely as it could be, as unorthodox as it could be, he is making geopolitical earthquakes everywhere. Okay, Maduro is no more. The Venezuelan regime is no more. The Syrian regime is different now, and Khamenei is no more. It all happened in 1 year, so it's huge. We should give the guy the credit of disruption. Although he says, I am an isolationist, and he represents the biggest isolationist movement in America, but he's not, after all.
He does say he's isolationist, but spent most of his first 13 months in power talking about foreign relations and foreign wars. So that's interesting when it comes to Donald Trump. But Dr. Elie and Wissam Keyrouz, thank you so much for your time with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.